Welcome in A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Thursday, April the 10th. Hopefully, you guys survived the monsoon that just hit us out of nowhere here in Middle Tennessee, if you're hanging out in Middle Tennessee. But we're talking draft priorities after Cam Ward. We know that the Titans need a quarterback. We know that the Titans are probably drafting a quarterback. We know that Cam Ward is likely going to be the number one overall pick in the NFL draft. These are the things that we know at this point in time. It's the worst kept secret in the NFL. So after Cam Ward, where does the prioritization lie? And as a fan, maybe you're more inclined to draft need versus best player available, or maybe you would be curious to see what your options are at the various positions, given that you have the 35th pick overall in the draft, no third rounder, but 2/4, and these kind of things that can ultimately give you the correct support system for this number one overall pick to make sure that Cam Ward is as successful as humanly possible under the Titans' guidance. So we're going to talk about the prioritization of needs after Cam Ward tonight. You'll hear from Greg Cosell. You'll hear more from Todd McShay. We got a lot of good draft football talk for you this evening. We'll get to a weekend bounce back, and then we'll send you on your merry way. Before we get started, I need you guys to share the broadcast around wherever you are hanging out with us on this Thursday night. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch in the comment section. Or if you are hanging out in the comment section, please do us the courtesy of sharing the broadcast around too. If you're hanging out on Twitter, please retweet the show. It's in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. And if you're on Facebook Live, you can share. You can share now to public. That's in the bottom left. YouTube, Twitch, hit the like button. Hit that thumbs up button. Share the show around. Text the link to a friend. Seems like there's a bit of a delay on the YouTube side of things, but I'm sure they'll catch up as more of you guys pile in here on Facebook, like Lewis Chesney. I see Zeph Smith. See a lot of you guys on Facebook, and more of you guys will arrive via Twitter and YouTube and Twitch as we get rolling. Once you've shared the show, well, I guess go ahead and share the show, and I'll go ahead and get this thing started. We'll start talking draft. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Zen Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising. I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by the wonderful people at Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer, online at tworiversford.com, and where they're currently offering you employee pricing. By TrueMav Fitness in the Gulch. You know, Fridays are my TrueMav days, and I relish the opportunity to get in the gym. I love working out now, and that is not something that I could say for the vast majority of my life, but TrueMav has helped change my life. They can help change yours too at TrueMavFitness.com. Your first workout is free. By Bart Durham Injury Law, you deserve to be paid, and Bart Durham will put you in that position to succeed, whether it's a personal injury or an automobile incident. BartDurham.com for more information. And Zen Sports, where you can bet on the NBA, the NHL, Major League Baseball back in effect. We are not too far away from football. Zen Sports is where you bet on all your favorite major sports. Promo code ATOZTN gives you that $100 no danger first wager. So a lot of the juice comes out of the draft or the draft conversation, right? You're excited for the draft. You're excited for Cam Ward, but you know you're getting Cam Ward, and you still have to wait, or 2 weeks? 2 weeks basically from the start of the draft tonight at 7:13 p.m. Central Time. 2 weeks from today, I'll be hanging out at the Titans facility. 2 weeks from today, I hope that my evening is done by 7:13 p.m. I'm pretty sure the draft coverage starts at 7, and so I would love to be done at 7:13 p.m. to have Cam Ward picked, to have the press conference over with. Hell, I'd love to be home by 7:30 if I can help it, as the benefits of the number one overall pick. Just get your draft night done and move on with it, and then you can start talking about the rest of it. Because the rest of it, I would argue, is as important as drafting Cam Ward. Why, you say? Well, nothing is important as drafting a potential franchise. I have no idea what Cam Ward is going to be. I'm not going to label him franchise quarterback, though that is the expectation, of course, that comes with the number one overall pick. We understand these things. But it is as important to build out the proper support system for Cam Ward as it is to draft Cam Ward. Otherwise, if you don't have the proper support system in place, then you're just talking about ruining a number one overall pick and potentially wasting another first-round pick the way that you've wasted quite a few in the past 5 to 6 years that way. So the belly of the draft, day 2 and day 3, are as important to me and 2 NFL teams as round one is. Round one gets all the headlines, but now we're going to talk about where else they should prioritize. And so, as you look at all the different things, Corey L says those Cam Ward #1 jerseys are about to be hot. He's not getting to wear #1, not unless Warren Moon decided that he's going to unretire his jersey. And I, I don't think Cam Ward should wear #1. I think that should be Warren Moon's number for the rest of the time in the Ring of Honor, or what I think it's called, the Ring of Honor, and Houston Oilers and Tennessee Titans history. And yeah, Cam Ward should not. I I I personally would not like to see him wear #1. In the same way that I wouldn't like to see him wear #9, right? You would gasp if he put on Steve McNair's number after all the Steve McNair comps. Coriel says, why not? Moon wasn't a Titan. I don't give a shit. He played for your franchise. His number's retired. It should stay retired. I don't give a damn whether he's a Titan, an Oiler, a Jag, or anything else. Like, it's retired for your franchise. Your franchise was the Houston Oilers. You can't say that the people who came before your Titans era aren't a part of your franchise. That's dumb, especially when arguably Warren Moon is the best quarterback to ever play for your franchise by a pretty consistent margin. But anyway, I think as you look at all the different things that are on tap for the Titans to add, and that the Titans need to add, understanding that they still have 7 picks after the #1 overall pick, and that third round pick is that lack of third round pick is kind of glaring. Where else? What would be the next biggest priority after quarterback positionally to you? Where would you like to see the Titans go? Even if they end up going best player available, it could still satisfy a need. Very rarely do you see teams outright target positions. Now, in the first round, they're clearly targeting a quarterback. They're targeting the best quarterback in the class, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. But you have desperate needs at wide receiver. You have desperate needs at edge. You have desperate needs as far as interior offensive line goes, because Cushenberry is no sure thing at this point in time, coming off an Achilles. And Kevin Zeitler has been very, very available. He's also 35, going to be 36 years old. He's on a 1-year deal, and you need depth along with your starting frontline players, because I'm just going to assume that not every player that starts the season for you will finish the season for you due to injury. So, as Ocho says, Titans need everything. Yes, at some point in time, I promise you, we will talk about a franchise, or we will talk about your franchise not needing literally everything. But for now, you still need everything in this draft, and you understand that you're not going to be able to address everything. So how would you prioritize that specifically in the draft? We will talk about it together. It's your Two Rivers Ford take. As always, it's made possible by Two Rivers Ford, where employee pricing is going on right now. You pay what they pay at Two Rivers Ford on almost every new vehicle on the lot. I'm not going to lie. They thirst trapped me today. I saw an ad for a Bronco, a cherry red Bronco, kind of like the Bronco that's on, that's to my, what is that? That's my right, my left, your right, if you're looking at me. So yeah, that Bronco that's sitting there, I would never be able to do. The weather would be a disaster. Either way, I was thirst trapped by a Bronco ad that I saw from Two Rivers Ford today. And I really, really thought about it, especially right now, because employee pricing is going on. And if my car wasn't only, I think my car's like a year and a half, 2 years old at this point in time, I can't be buying another car. But if you are in the need or in the market for a new car, as I know Bert is, and I know many other people are at this time, and you're concerned about tariffs and things like that, well, no better time to shop at Two Rivers Ford, because the employee pricing makes sure that you pay what they pay, again, on almost every new Ford on the lot. There are, of course, some exceptions. TwoRiversFord.com for more information. So, as you look at the Titans draft needs, and as you talk about priorities and targeting specific positions versus just drafting the best player available, this roster would benefit from just having good football players on it. There are so few. Jeffrey Simmons is a good football player. Calvin Ridley is a good football player. J.C. Latham, I think, is going to be a good football player. But again, I don't know. Tony Pollard is a good football player. After that, man, Amani Hooker, good football player, for sure. But beyond that, there's no star power on this roster. And I don't necessarily know that you're adding that at 35, or if you trade back in the second round or what have you. But you have the potential to do so. You're drafting guys on day 2 that are going to be meaningful contributors to you. in some form or fashion, assuming that you're not, drafting a quarterback in the second round, but you wouldn't be. So as you talk about adding good football players, does it have to come at a specific position? Well, I know many of you would like to see them target specific positions, and they have emphasized over and over and over again that they are going to let their board speak to them. So what that means is they have groups of players, they have pods of players, they have options for each pick and each position. They are not just married to one player at one specific pick. You can't go about that way, because if somebody takes the player that you targeted and you're just looking around like, oh, what are we going to do? That's not a draft strategy, right? People are also submitting Sweat. Sweat is promising. I reserve judgment on all rookies. J.C. Latham, I think, is going to be a good football player. Devondre Sweat, I think, is going to be a good football player. I don't know that definitively yet, like the other ones that I mentioned. So we will, for Sweat and Latham, my position is going to be, okay, do it again. And then we can start to talk about them as actual, as actual factors here, understanding that they are going to factor into the Titans' plans in the 2024 first round and second round picks at this point in time. Nate Samuel says they're going to have to put the coaching staff on the banners outside of the stadium at this point. Yeah, but what happens when you fire them in week 6? I mean, it could happen. That would be awkward. And I suppose that didn't stop you from putting people on banners and then trading them away. 2 years ago with Byard in particular, but you understand it's life in the NFL. We get that. So as you talk about prioritization of positions, what is the second biggest priority after Cam Ward, understanding that quarterback is the top priority at this point in time? What is the second biggest priority to you? Let's see. Some people are saying wide receiver. Steven Rodriguez says, talking about players that have the most upside, in my opinion, followed up with a wide receiver. Oh, no, he's saying followed up with a wide receiver if Emeka Ibuka or Luther Burden or still there. Lewis Chesney says tight end. I don't believe Tyler Warren would be available at 35. That would be an upset. Although Loveland, the Michigan State tight end, I think has surpassed him for tight end one pretty comfortably at this point in time. Sounds like he's more of a plug and play tight end than Tyler Warren is, who, was very much a schemed type of player, schemed up type of player in Penn State, and was very productive, to his credit. That matters. Curtis says wide receiver. Eric agrees. Nate Samuel says edge or wide receiver. Aw shucks on YouTube says that he prefers them go with an edge. Beth on Facebook Live says wide receiver is the second biggest priority. And I've gone back and forth on this 1,000,001 times, to be honest with you. I'm of two minds of this, which is not an answer. But my first and foremost position is understanding that you're probably going to draft Cam Ward. Okay. Everything then after drafting Cam Ward has to be done to support Cam Ward. Now, part of that is giving him a defense that can get a stop and get off the field on third down. It's not just, skill player, and offensive linemen in between. Like you have to have a good team to fully support your rookie and quarterback and potentially your franchise future. But also, your pass rush sucked last year. Awful. One of the worst in football. Jeff, we understand he was dealing with the elbow injury. I think a lot of people also expect more from Jeff Simmons, and I think that's fair. Arden Key had one of his most productive seasons. Still not nearly enough. Harold Landry is obviously gone. Draymond Jones is going to start here, certainly, or at least play a substantive role. That's one starter. You still probably need two more pass rushers. A rookie, and then I wouldn't mind you dipping back into the veteran free agency market. I would love to see them sign Zadarius Smith, but I suppose they'll go through the draft process before they dip back into free agency, regardless of what that situation looks like. So for the pass, and Sweat's not there yet. Like Sweat, has the athletic gifts, certainly, to push the pocket and make quarterbacks uncomfortable, and an athletic, and certainly way more athletic than you would expect anybody of that colossal size to be. To his credit, there's a reason he's a second round pick. He's an incredibly talented player, but he's not a consistent pass rusher in the way that you need consistent pass rush at this point in time. He can help a great deal. And then you got guys like Sebastian Joseph Day and Lorenzo Carter who will play a role. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Sebastian Joseph Day had like 4 sacks last year. Whether he was cleaning up that or just beating guys one-on-one, those things are obviously something that you want to parse to better understand, okay, how effective was he individually versus what others were creating for him. Point is, your pass rush was ass last year. As bad, arguably, and I wouldn't say worse, but as bad as your offense, as bad as the offense was. And I know that the quarterback play last year gave you a more visceral, bad feeling than your pass rush did, because a lot of times you could just blame your special teams for, oh my God, the defense is in short field situations, and now they're going to be compromised. And they were compromised over and over and over again, but they didn't hold up well in the red zone. One of the worst scoring defenses in football last year, despite the counting stats making them appear better than they actually were. I think they still finished with like a top 5 passing defense, which is ridiculous because, of course, you didn't have to pass very much on the Tennessee Titans to score last year. So I'm of two minds on this. My inclination would still be to go, depending on who's there, wide receiver. But you have so many more options as far as the edge rushers go that it is entirely likely that you have way better options at edge at the top of the second round, or if you trade back in the second round, than you would at wide receiver. And Greg Cosell and I talked about edge rushers today. We also talked to Todd McShay about edge rushers yesterday. And Todd answered my question about which player. I asked him which player is going to be the most complicated or the toughest evaluation, and he just said the edge class entirely.
But who has been the most difficult prospect in this class for you to evaluate? Whom have you really struggled with?
The hard part, like, let's go through the edge rushers real quickly. It is like we're going to have more defensive linemen drafted in the first 3 rounds by like 5, 6, or 7 than we've ever had before. I went back 30 years. It was 26 was the most in the given year. Interior and edge guys. This group is loaded. It's loaded at edge in the first round. There's a bunch more guys later in the second and third. It's loaded along the interior. But with the edge guys, it's like there's a bunch of buts. And you hate as a scout and an evaluator to like you said, like when it's not clean, right? And so like Abdul Carter, arguably the best player in this draft, but I don't love the fact, and you're nitpicking here, and he's going to be just fine, but there's the shoulder and the foot injury, and he's undersized and only 1 year at edge. Jalen Walker, is he a tweener, or is he the next Hassan Reddick or Nolan Smith? Then you get down like Mike Green, some off-the-field stuff that he addressed at the Combine. Played at Marshall, didn't play at Alabama against, or Georgia. James Pierce, as you guys know in your backyard. I would argue he's the second best edge in this class, second best pass rusher in this class, but he's got some stuff and some football character stuff. And so there's a lot of guys that you struggle with. You see the talent and you want it to just be about the talent. And even like the cleanest guys, right? Like people were like almost in tears talking about the interviews with Tyler Booker, the guard from Alabama. Yeah. I talked to a GM the day before they worked out. And it was like, I don't care where you got him rated. He's going higher than that. I don't care that he's a guard. Like, I want to sleep really well after the first night of the draft. And I'll do that knowing I just got a 10-year starter with maybe the best character of any player we've ever seen. Then he goes out and has the worst combine workout of any player along the offensive line. So every guy's got something. Nobody's perfect. But I think those edge rushers became – and Shamar Stewart, right? Shamar Stewart is like Trayvon Walker type workout numbers. Is he the next Danielle Hunter, or is he a guy who's never going to be productive? Just 1.5 sacks last year, but 33 quarterback hurries. And so there's a lot of that goes on. And then this time of year, there's all sorts of noise.
So Todd saying that, and we know this about the defense. You don't have to be Todd McShay to understand that there is good defensive line depth in this draft. So that, to me, would heighten the prioritization on wide receiver, because there aren't that many wide receivers that can impact you. And you can probably still find contributors in the fourth. But right now, you don't have the luxury of a third-round pick. So your second-round pick is critically important for the success of Cam Ward, the success of your football team. I'm not going to say that you can just draft edge guys, whatever, because there's not years like this very often. It's a pretty unique draft class from the standpoint of where the numbers are, is how coaches talk about this. And the numbers are on the defensive line. So if the numbers are on the defensive line and not at the wide receiver position, and you understand that in a lot of other years, the depth would be at the wide receiver position as opposed to the defensive line, then I think that you have to prioritize the wide receiver situation here. Now, there was also a draft intel piece on ESPN.com today from Matt Miller. And Matt Miller, who has been doing this for a long time, suggested that the Titans would, one, be aggressive in targeting a wide receiver and suggested that they might trade up trade up from 35, which could it happen? Sure. But it would be very antithetical to who the front office keeps telling us that they are. Because the front office keeps telling us that they want draft picks, that they want top 100 picks. And trading away a top 100 pick and probably a future top 100 pick or one of your 2/4 this year would not be in line with how they have talked about building this roster out. So I would be stunned if they were trading up for a wide receiver, because Irio, and forgive me if I mispronounce it, I always say it a different way, I think. But he says, Buck, are the Titans really trying to trade up for a wide receiver? Trying to? No. And again, could the draft fall a certain way that motivates them to, once we get to the draft, like beyond the first round, like the draft, the trade discussions are had, but nothing materializes until, of course, we're in the round. Like that's where you see the trades happen. So are they trying to? No, I don't believe that they are trying to. I would be very surprised to see them trade up. But if the right player is there and Luther Burden or Emeka Ibuka feels like they're going to fall out of the first round or go 31 or 32 or something like that, then maybe you could envision the scenario. But it's like that is one of the least likely scenarios I think that's out there. A to Z Sports Prime Time is presented by the wonderful folks at True Math Fitness in the Gulch. TrueMathFitness.com is where you go to work out for your first workout free. You can tell them A to Z Sports sent you, and you can try out their group conditioning classes, their group fitness classes, rather. Sometimes they do conditioning, sometimes they do strength, sometimes they do full body. It's a great experience at True Math Fitness. And if that isn't your vibe, they've got personal training. And if that isn't your vibe, you just sign up for a membership and go work out at their awesome facility as you please. TrueMathFitness.com for more info today. So I would say wide receiver, but there is still a significant need at edge. Eric Castillo says top 30 visits tell me the Titans are trying to get back into the third round. It would be understandable for you to read into that because they are visiting with a lot of players who would probably be back half of the second round or top of the third at this point in time, or they're bringing in a lot of players for visits that way. So I think that if you ask me what percentage chance I gave them to trade up, it would be significantly lower than the idea that they trade back out of 35, still try and stay in the second round, but pick up a third if humanly possible. Sean Gill says, question for the group. I got 2 tickets to are you talking about the install show? I might sell, can't attend. So sudden change in plans. Anyone interested? Okay, well, you guys can converse and negotiate with Sean Gill if you want. We had another listener DM me on Instagram, offer to buy 5 tickets for people. We gave away 3 today. We're going to give away 2 more tomorrow on the radio show. So you can always do that. Or you can negotiate with Sean. If you are somebody who hasn't got their tickets to the install show with Greg Cosell, I think we're going to have a big surprise for you next week. And that would be 1 week away from the draft. And like I said, on the install today, when we taped with Greg, if any of you tweet me after the Sunday after the draft and say, oh, where are all the tickets? You drafted a quarterback, dummies. And I told you that you need to get your tickets now because we're going to spend 3 hours talking about your draft class and your free agency class. You're going to be able to ask Greg questions. And Greg is even going to, I don't know if I have a copy of last year's draft evals on my desk. I sure do. Look at that. Something different that we're going to do this year at the Install Live is give you guys at your tables this. What is this, you might ask? Well, it very clearly says at the top of the sheet, a collegiate prospect evaluation sheet. And this is the evaluation for Jalen Harrell. This is just for one of your 7th round picks. we're going to put draft evals of the draft class. These are Greg's notes. This is how Greg does his draft evaluations. He gives you strengths, weaknesses, transition, how they figure to transition into the NFL, and then also games that he scouted, their measurables, information from them going back to high school. Honestly, it's pretty crazy. So we're going to have every prospect evaluation that Greg does. Normal, obviously, I'll have them on the stage, but we're going to have people put them on the tables for you guys, so you guys can follow along with Greg as he breaks down the tape, and you can see and read all the different things that Greg has put, all the work that Greg puts into this, because he's a one-man scouting department. The man is a badass, and I don't tell Greg that enough, but he's very excited to fly into Nashville. We're very excited to give you a more in-depth experience this year at the draft show. Again, this is just for 7th-round pick Jalen Harrell out of Michigan. Imagine the kind of work that this man is putting in if he's going that in-depth all the way into the 7th round. So you will have a full stack of evaluations for you guys to look at and to follow along and ask Greg questions and watch tape with Greg and break down Cam Ward and all the good stuff. I believe Bert dropped the ticket link into the live stream chat. There you go. He says you can get your install tickets there if you scroll up, if you missed the link to purchase your tickets. James asked, for some of us that won't be able to make it, will you all be streaming? No. This is a ticketed event. It's an in-person event. It's special for people who are able to come here. Not to deprive you guys, because obviously we'll put it out as a podcast later. But yeah, no, that's if you want it live, you got to be there live. And that's kind of the fun of it, because we don't do very many things like that. And those things would be produced after the fact. So you can always check them out. Like I'm pretty sure last year's show is is it divvied up into 3 parts? On the Zone's YouTube channel, I think it's 3 parts on the YouTube channel. So it's a 3-hour show. So each hour became an individual YouTube video on the Zones. But we put that out later. Greg and I take a break, and then we put those out later for you guys. So if you want to be there, you're going to have to be there in the house. If you're going to want to watch, you're going to want to be there that night. A nice carrot for the people who are the diehards and who support us, support the podcast and things like that. And we appreciate all of you who support us. But I want to do something fun and special for the people in person. This is the 3rd year we're doing that show, by the way. And we've had sellouts in the first 2, and we fully expect to have a sellout for the 3rd, especially given the fact that you are drafting a quarterback, the number 1 overall pick. What about donations to charity? Is there anywhere to do that? Yes, Bert, if you would do me the courtesy of getting the Home Street Home donation link for Beef Wrench, that would be greatly appreciated, because it is a charity fundraiser event as well. So we do, not only do we ask people to, give their time as a part of the experience, but we do ask, if you're able to give anything at all. Home Street Home is an awesome organization here in Middle Tennessee that helps rehabilitate the unhoused community in Nashville. You know what a problem that is, especially with all the adverse weather that we're having here lately. Anything that can be done to support them and to help them in their mission as they go out on the streets on a daily basis, delivering food, water, tents, propane heaters, things like that for the unhoused community. It's a really, really great cause. Stephen Young, a former unhoused person himself, somebody who's been to prison because of his life choices and then turned it all around and now runs this awesome organization. A great story. If for no other reason, even if you don't donate, I would tell you to go check out Home Street Home. That would be cool. Can I go even if I'm 20? Or we don't put an age thing on this, do we? Oh, because there's a bar. I just think that they give you like a wristband. Like, I don't think.
Do you have a fake? Let me check.
You're gonna be checking IDs at the door?
Yeah, do I look like a doorman? No.
Yeah.
Let me see your ID, son.
Yeah, you kind of did there. All we need is a little cowboy hat on you, and you'd look like somebody who stands outside of the stage on Broadway.
Let me see your ID, son, and you find me a good fake. But I'll give you this back for $100. Yeah.
Hey, listen, because it says 21 plus on the website. Listen, if
that's unfortunate.
Well,
I'll double check. And find out. I will get you an answer.
Kids, Rand Carthon's kids were there last year. Like
they were backstage though. I don't want to tell somebody they can't do it right now. Let me figure it out.
It doesn't ID them on the website, does it? I would just think that they would ID.
No, but you do get ID'd at the door. They ID everybody at the door that comes in. So it potentially is 21 and up, which would be unfortunate. But you, like Buck said, you can listen to it as a podcast. Gets uploaded on YouTube. I don't know what to tell you. Be born a year before, dude.
Let me find out. All right, Halo. Tune into the radio show tomorrow. I'll have an answer for you. Just remind me if you live stream the radio show, or send me a tweet to remind me, because I will. I want to say that people have been under 21 at that show before, but there is a bar there, so I think that would be a concern. Somebody said so. Sam Phelan can't get. Sam's 21. Stop it. He's at least 22. I think. I'm not sure. Is he back from where? We've gotten so off topic. I can't get distracted anymore. We got to keep it moving. We're talking draft. So with everything that you talk about at this point in time, the question that I would like to pivot to next on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, on Twitch, wherever you are live streaming with us this evening is this. Is there a player, as you look at the different ways that you've prioritized the draft and the draft prospects and things like that, I forget how exactly we phrased this, Bert, because I don't have the email, but I believe that the question that we posed to people
Who was your favorite edge prospect for the Titans?
Your favorite edge prospect for the Titans. Okay, how about that? Thank you for bailing me out. So your favorite edge prospect for the Titans. Sean Gill says, "My bad, Buck. I derailed the entire damn show." Yeah, I got the attention span of a rodent. It's on me. It's not on you. So who's your favorite edge prospect for the Titans in this draft class? Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Be a top player, be a day 3 guy. However you feel about it, however far you've gotten in your scouting or your reading. If you are somebody who consumes the draft content at that kind of a rate, who is your favorite edge prospect for the Titans in this class? Let me know, and we'll talk about it together right after I remind you that the place that you need to go is Bart Durham Injury Law. If you have experienced a personal injury or an automobile accident and you believe that you deserve financial compensation, BartDurham.com is there to help you, like they've helped so many other people over 75 years in Tennessee and in Kentucky. BartDurham.com for more information. Get a free consultation online. Find out more about their areas of practice. Find out more about their case results. BartDurham.com. All right. Who's your favorite edge prospect in the draft class? I Bleed Orange says James Pierce. If he's there at 32, it just seems like the Eagles are going to trip and fall into another one of these guys, right? Like Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter and though I'm blanking on the white quarterback's name from Iowa. Oh, it's going to make me crazy. I can't think of his name. Cooper DeJean or Quinyon Mitchell, right? They had 2 candidates for Defensive Rookie of the Year just as rookie corners this year, which is crazy. The Eagles somehow trip and fall into an embarrassment of riches. Ben Hall says James Pierce isn't getting out of the first round. I would think so, Ben, but I can't definitively say. I really cannot, because he didn't have a good year last year. And his athletic, like, I know he ran really fast in the 40. It was a 4.47, I believe, was James Pierce. I probably have it in front of me here. I've got my draft notes here. James Pierce. Yeah, 4.47 of the combine. But the rest of the testing wasn't great, and he's not as disruptive as you'd like him to be. I thought it was pretty interesting to hear Greg Cosell's analysis of later round edge guys, because there is a world where James Pierce falls out of the first round. There are a lot of options at edge this year, even though there's a lot to like about the player. Ben Hall says, "Can you explain it to me? What character issues are people referencing? He never got in trouble. What is it?" Ben, nobody is willing to say definitively, or at least not to me. I'm sure people have been told in some form or fashion, but it just seems like draft, what's the word? Scuttlebutt, draft rumor mill type stuff. Like I can't get anybody to tell me on the record or off the record, like, what's his deal? Like, does he have an attitude issue? Is he tough to coach? Like, what's the problem? I haven't heard anybody say anything legitimate or be comfortable saying anything publicly or even anonymously about what James Pierce's problem is, if there is an actual problem. But McShay brought it up too. And I don't doubt that Todd's talking to people that are telling him that. That's just, it's a weird it's a weird situation, and there's always one of those guys who gets negged in the part of the draft process. And I'm sure there are plenty of teams that would like to see James Pierce drop to them if they get out enough information about or misinformation. And I don't know if it's misinformation, right? So I don't want to I don't want to speak on things that I don't definitively know. And because I don't definitively know what the issue is with James Pierce, I don't want to speculate about what might happen there. Ben Hall says, I mean, if there's no smoke, at what point, or if there's no smoke, at what point is there no smoke? But people keep saying there's smoke, it's weird. I don't know. Again, this is a part of the draft process. There's just a lot of shit out there at this point in time. Cosell is not overwhelmingly in love with James Pierce as a prospect, though. And it was interesting to hear his evaluation today because we previewed, ironically enough, the edge class on today's install. This draft class. It's going to be a fun draft, though, Greg, for a variety of different reasons, depending on how these quarterbacks break. The wide receiver conversation is going to be interesting. Tennessee probably needs 2 pass rushers still, whether they dip back into the free agent market post-draft. Zadarius Smith still out there somewhere, but certainly we know they're going to add some juice on the end there for this defense that is in desperate.
Yeah, they're going to have to they're going to have to draft someone. Look, if they take Ward 1, there's going to be a pass rusher in the second round. That's a quality player if they choose to go that route, obviously. But I think they have to somewhere along the line.
Yeah, and the question really for us locally that we'll be able to expand more at the live show is, does Tennessee trade out of 35 to try and pick up a 3rd round pick, because they do need wide receiver, they do need edge, and there's going to be a couple of different players at those positions. More depth at edge certainly than there is at wide receiver in this year's draft, but that's the fascinating part of the draft. Nobody knows how it's going to play out, but we got plenty of time to talk about it. God knows.
Yeah, you just don't know. So I'm really looking forward to this year's draft. I mean, it's it wouldn't surprise me if and I've said this before, if some player that one team has 12th on their board, another team has 35th on their board. It's going to be one of those.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, hell, just Jalen Milroe getting invited to the draft may lead to something interesting, because I don't think that's just on a lark. I would be kind of surprised if he's a 1st round pick, but stranger things have happened, Greg.
You never know. You never know.
That's absolutely. So Greg goes on to talk about day 3 prospects that he likes later in that episode, or earlier in that episode. You can check it out on 104.5 The Zone's YouTube channel as well, if you are so inclined, for the Edge preview at this point. And it's a really good one. We talked about James Pierce and obviously the top guy, Shamar Stewart, why some dudes don't translate well from what they're doing in college to what they would do in the pros. And there's a couple of examples out there like that. Ocho said Jeff had character issues too. Well, yeah, I mean, you know why that was out there, because Jeff and listen, he did not have an incident in college, but the video of him as a high schooler hitting a woman is something that was going to be a problem for him as a professional athlete in the job interview process. Of course, that shit, especially on video, is going to come up as, I don't know about this guy, right? And Jeff's been a model citizen ever since then. I am somebody who does not think that people should be defined by their lowest moments, by their worst possible moments. And I think people, should be given the opportunity to prove that they are something other than that one moment in time makes them seem like they are. And Jeff has done that to his credit, but don't act like that wasn't a thing coming out of Mississippi State and coming out of high school. It's something that it was completely valid to scrutinize further, and to say that it's, because nothing's ever happened since then, it wasn't an issue then. No, of course it was an issue then. Christopher says that it's like they do full-blown FBI background checks on these guys now. They've always done that. I mean, you would be shocked by the amount of former heads of police or FBI types or private investigator types that work for NFL teams, and they still get shit wrong all the time, so it's, again, it's not an exact science by any stretch of the imagination. A full background check on Isaiah Wilson could not have told you how badly Isaiah Wilson was going to go. And Isaiah Wilson went as badly or as poorly as any 1st round draft pick in the history of the NFL draft. You missed some things. And things develop because they're not fully formed by the time they get they're still kids by the time they get here, even if they are giant 300+ pound rage monsters. Like they're still 20 and 21 and 22, and some of them are 25 now, which is a little less excuse, but you understand my point. All right. So with everything that's going on right now, I think that there's a lot of edge help to add. My favorite edge player, or the player that I would like to see the Titans add, is Shamar Stewart. I really want to see Tracy Rocker get his hands on Shamar Stewart. I think that guy at Texas A&M is too freaky athletic he's probably going to go in the first round. So maybe it's not even a conversation. In a lot of years, I think he'd be a second round pick because he doesn't have the production at college. And there's some finish issues there. Like he's super raw, but he started to come on last year at Texas A&M, and he's got a lot of promise. No telling what he'll be at the pro level, but if Shamar Stewart is anywhere close to the back of the first round, man, it would be tempting. It would definitely be tempting. All right. Weekend bounce back. Who needs to bounce back most this week in sports? Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. We'll talk about it together. You tell me who your bounce back candidate is, and I will tell you about the people. I think we've had the same bounce back candidate for 3 straight weeks, which is perfect because I can't get enough of this man. And we'll get to him here in just a second, right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by Zen Sports. Promo code ATOZTN gets you in on the action for baseball, for basketball, for hockey. The postseason is right around the corner, not for the Nashville Predators, of course, because they are one of the worst teams in hockey, and their season's been over for 2 weeks, even if they are still playing games until the 16th. But if you want to bet on the postseason, if you want to bet on the regular season in baseball and what remains of the NHL and the NBA regular seasons, promo code ATOZTN, Zen Sports, $100 on your no danger first wager. Terms and conditions do apply. Gambling problem must be 21 and up to bet. Gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789. Must be 21 plus and in the state of Tennessee to bet at Zen Sports. All right. Who's your bounce back candidate this week? Because there are some good ones. The Mavericks need a bounce back. I saw Iro bring up Dallas GM Nico Harrison needs a bounce back. He's not the owner, he's the general manager, and the ownership group does too, because apparently Nico Harrison is a bit of a fall guy for the ownership who wanted to trade Luka because I don't know, he smokes too much hookah. That was dumb. He put up 45 on them last night, and the Lakers clinched a playoff spot, which can't feel good to Mavs fans. Let's see. Exposing the Truth says Travis going number 1. Oh, I'm not going to get into an argument about that again. That's stupid. There are plenty of other bounce back candidates that you could pull from, but I think one of my favorite bounce back candidates is one that we've gone to for a 3rd straight week, and that is Bruce Drennan, the Cleveland sports media personality who keeps trying to keep this Dak Prescott to the Browns rumor alive for as long as humanly possible, and I'm delighted by it.
My source claims that the Browns told Garrett, "We're working on getting you Dak Prescott from the Dallas Cowboys." And Garrett got all excited and said, "Where do I sign?" Now, Cleveland fans, you know and I know if Prescott does come here, it doesn't guarantee anything in this division with Jackson and Burrow and whoever Pittsburgh throws out there at quarterback. But it does make the Browns competitive.
Bert, I'm so scared that that's what I'm going to turn into when I age. Like when I'm still doing this in my 60s and 70s, because you're going to have to pry the microphone out of my cold dead hands. Like I'm scared that I'm going to be Bruce Drennan at 65 or however old he is. I think he's 70, which is crazy. Good for him. He's better at this than I am. His delivery is so much better. But there's no way that that's true. He keeps keeping it alive though. So maybe Bruce Drennan will be validated at some point. But until then, he's going to keep getting out there once a week on the show, talking about the Browns trying to trade for Dak Prescott, even though that makes no sense. That's going to do it for us tonight. Get your install tickets. Do it now. If they sell out and you tweet me afterwards, I'm not going to feel sorry for you. 1045thezone.com. Events is where you go to get the tickets. There are still some available for $30. There are, of course, the VIP option. which gets you meal and drink tickets and access to the VIP hour that will be with Greg and I before the show starts. So we look forward to seeing you there on Friday, May the 2nd. Get your tickets, like I said. And we will see you tomorrow. Oh, tomorrow morning on the radio show. We got Coach Mac of Titans Radio. We got Mike Keith, not of Titans Radio. He's of the Vol Network now. We're going to be previewing the spring game. And, I guess I'm going to have to ask Mike what's going on with this Nico Iamaleava shit for those of you who are following along with the latest out of Knoxville. It seems that Nico is potentially trying to renegotiate his NIL compensation, which is funny given the way that he performed last year, that he would think that he is in a position to ask for more money, but maybe he is, because there's a post spring practice transfer portal. He can kind of hold over the university's heads as a negotiating tool, and I think that's very smart by Nico, even those Vols fans are going to hate it. So we'll look forward to having Mike Keith. We haven't had Mike Keith on the radio show since he left the Titans radio network, and so we'll look forward to him. He's going to do so great in Knoxville. I'm so excited for him. He's going to crush that. So Coach Mac, Titans Radio, Mike Keith, Ball Network tomorrow on 104.5 The Zone. We'll see you there 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on the show.
Go home! Go home! Go home!